So far in this series, we have spoken about how AI thinks. Now, we spoke about fan out, we spoke about drift, we spoke about how answers are assembled, not just stored. Now, today we are going to talk about where AI is actually getting its information from, because there is a lot of myths existing that is surrounding this particular retrieval portion. Now, many people assume that AI knows everything, but in reality, it doesn't. So, AI doesn't invent answers out of thin air. So, it retrieves information, then reasons over that information. And that retrieval step is more constrained than most people realize. Now, let's break this down simply. Now, when an AI system needs information, it doesn't just search the internet like how we used to do. It pulls from specific retrieval layers. Now, broadly, there are three types of such retrieval layers. One is the index itself. Now, there may be a lot of people who think that AI doesn't have index, which is wrong. Now, there are structured collection of content which is readily accessible for these AI systems to quickly access. So obviously that means it's an index where all these collection of content is stored, trained upon, and it gets retrieved from there. Now think of them as curated memories, not live browsing. Now, not every page on the internet is going to be here in this particular index, obviously, because it's not like Google where it has tons and tons of pages already crawled and indexed. Now, only the pages that meet certain criteria, like the quality of the brand, the structure, the accessibility signals, they may be used to give a priority for these AI systems to index. Now, secondly, the APIs and data sources. Now, for certain types of information like products, companies, locations, or facts, AI systems rely on trusted databases. Now, these could be commercial data providers or public data sets that government agencies do release, and structured knowledge sources, etc. Now, if your information doesn't exist in these systems, now AI systems may have less confidence using those details. Now, the third is retrieving the passages. Now, this is where traditional content still matters, where AI retrieves specific sections of pages, not the entire articles. Now, it doesn't read like a human. Now, it looks for chunks that can answer a specific subquery created during the fan out. Now, this is why structure matters so much. Now, if your insight is buried inside a long paragraph, it may never be retrieved. Now, if it is clearly expressed, now it becomes reusable. Now, here is the critical part. Now, this retrieval doesn't decide your visibility. It decides only the eligibility. For example, if you're applying for a job and your resume gets shortlisted, so now you are in the shortlisted set. Likewise, eligibility criteria is there, but then a final decision has to happen. Now, that is where final retrieval and you getting featured in the answer is made possible. Otherwise, if the retrieval itself is not possible, then you won't even enter into the conversation. Now, this is why some brands they feel completely invisible, not because they are wrong, but because their content is not retrievable. In the traditional SEO sense, we used to say that the content should be crawlable, indexable. Now, this also is quite similar, where here the content needs to be retrieved. Now, why publishing more content doesn't always help is because of this reason, where your content may not be structured, it's not clearly scoped out on who is this content for, and it's not aligned to the real subqueries. Now, it won't be pulled in the first place if neither of these are looked upon. Now, let's connect this back to yesterday's topic about drift. Now, when fan out changes, these retrieval targets also change. Different subqueries, different passages, and then different sources. Now, that's why visibility can fluctuate, even when your content stays the same. And this is where most of the traditional tools also fall short. They show you the rankings, impressions, clicks. I mean, not the impressions, obviously. Only GSE provides that. But they don't show you which subqueries you are being retrieved for, which passages are being reused, which reasoning parts you support. Now, you don't know where you're visible. You only know if traffic came or not through GA4, where you can track the incoming traffic from LLMs. Now, this is exactly the gap we started noticing at FTA, where we could see brands ranking well but disappearing in AI answers. Not because of quality, but because the content wasn't even entering into the retrieval layer. Now, this is why we began mapping visibility in a different way. Instead of asking, do we rank or do we get cited, we started asking, are we, first of all, retrievable across the right scenarios? Now, these scenarios could be like different personas, different prompt variations, different risk profiles. Now, this thinking eventually shaped how FTA visibility tool was built. It's created as a way to understand how often a brand enters the reasoning pipeline across the changing prompts and the context. You'll see more of this as the series progresses. For now, the key takeaway is this: if your content cannot be pulled cleanly into the system's reasoning process, then it won't matter how correct it is. So when you think about AI visibility, don't ask only, is my content good? Can parts of my content be confidently reused? That should be the question you should check when you're optimizing your content. Now, that question changes everything, right? Now, in the next episode, we'll go one level deeper. We'll talk about what the model actually reads once a page is retrieved. Not your design, not your branding, but the signals that truly matter. That's day 14. See you tomorrow.